Welcome back. Ladder League recaps. We are starting with Rung 1, Anorak, Bricko, Laser. Three pretty good runners, sort of different levels of expectations on them, though. Bricko certainly came in as the favorite after his week 1, 2:17:03. High hopes for him, but Anorak and Laser have put together, two good tournament times each coming into this week. Certainly each have a chance, and they're going to have a better chance after this invasion out of Bricko. Going to be missing ICS, really tough time loss to start your race with. And that's going to be a chance for the other two. Here we have Flaming Laser coming into Godfront. If he can land this, he's in a really good position. Gets the height boost and everything, but I think he maybe turned a little too far before he called in, though. He looks completely fine, honestly, going into cutscene. It's tough to say exactly where this goes wrong, but he's just gonna, not quite get in bounds there when he was expecting to, and now he's coming in bounds in the cave section, and that is a big problem. That is gonna make you go backwards, and that is gonna force a level reset from Flaming Laser. Really devastating time loss, and so now Bricko, who starts the race behind him, has a chance to take a bit of a lead, and he's going to get lap 1 Godfraud over Laser, have that lead now coming into lap 2 skip, and doesn't get himself perfectly aligned here, tries to adjust, doesn't quite make it in bounds, and now he's going to get a bunch of extra speed, and he comes in, he gets player 2 in bounds, and I think what happens is he drops out before he hits the mid-lap trigger. So, normally if you have a problem there, it's because you're too far left, but Bricko was actually too far right. He needed to stay in for a bit. So he's going to reset the level. We have two Pod Fraud full level resets now. So again, like, Anorak is running away in first place, but Laser, because his reset was earlier in the level, he actually is in second place right now. But when he goes for lap 1 Godfraud the second time, he doesn't get a good height boost, and now he's getting pulled into the track a little bit. Gets to the cutscene without any major problems, but it's going to look pretty awkward as he tries to get back in bounds, and he's going to go right into that cave again, and he's going to be backwards again. I mean, two level resets in pod race for Flaming Laser. I mean, the only good thing you can say is, I guess, yeah, they're both in lap 1, but that's still, 3.5 minutes down the drain from these resets. Insane stuff. I mean, that just puts him minutes behind Bricko, who is minutes behind Anorak. This race ended right there. That's really what it is. I mean, final time for Anorak is going to come up to a 2:19:20. I mean, he played pretty solidly. That is technically his worst of his three tournament times, but that says more about how well he played the first 2 weeks. Still like a 25-second spread across his three times. Remarkable consistency. And off of the back of this, Anorak does get the 3 seed. And honestly, pretty deserved with that consistency he's put up. I mean, he played well when he needed it. A little bit lucky, right, this week, getting, benefiting from a couple of pod fraud disasters. He really didn't even need to play well, but he still did. You maybe look at, like, Bricko come into in it this week with 2 times that are better than Anorak's best time. Zach enters this week also with 2 times better than Anorak's best. Maybe you say those two are probably better runners, but at least in the case of Bricko, he did not put up the time he needed when he needed to do it with that pod fraud miss. But, I'd say I still believe in Bricko as a runner after this one. He's getting a 2:21, and that is, if you take out the Godfraud disaster, he still played at like a 2:18 pace for the run. It's just really hard when you take that big of a setback. He was just never coming back. I mean, Laser with the 2:26, he's the only one that sort of had other stumbles after pod race. Honestly, Bricko was not that far ahead of Laser coming out of pod race, but Laser just really wasn't playing very well in general. He ends with a 2:26:01. I think the thing with Laser, I've heard he had like really bad screen tearing, and that definitely is gonna mess you up. Regardless though, with the way Bricko played after pod race, there was never gonna be coming back for Laser, even if he had been playing well the last 32 levels. Again, the race really was just decided in pod race. I'm showing off Anorak's Bespin here because he did get a CG, 4:37. Pretty nice time from him. Cool to see that in the race, but he could have had a 6:37 and still won. Going forward, I think there's a lot to talk about in terms of the playoff implications of this. I would say most of all, like Anorak getting to top three is pretty big because like I don't know if he was viewed as guaranteed to make playoffs after the laser rise up and suddenly one of these top runners isn't going to make playoffs, but Anorak keeps himself out of that conversation, and it's getting to be pretty tough now. Like laser has to worry about his average. It's still fine. Getting 219s is going to help balance this out, but he can't afford another disaster like that. That's the big thing. So, moving on now, we have Rung 5, Coolison and Mellowbro. This is a two-person race. Obviously, the Phantom situation last week. He, just very briefly, he didn't finish his race. That resulted in a disqualification from the tournament. And we're just gonna, he's eliminated basically his last place in this race, and we're gonna have a two-way race. Elimination, winner survives, loser goes home. Coolison versus Mello, and it's going to be Mellowbro taking the kind of first big time loss on this lamp jump, just missing it in a whole variety of ways. Um, Coolison definitely comes in as the favorite with the better PB, and he's shown an ability to like match that PB in tournament races. So Mellowbro definitely fighting an uphill battle, and this is absolutely not going to help him. And yeah, that's going to put Coolison into a pretty good lead. He's having a pretty solid but not perfect early game, but that's enough. When you're already a bit faster and then your opponent loses a minute to DM1, that is definitely enough to get a lead, and that lead is only going to grow here in Princess. Mello opting to not do the backup shot, and as you can see, there's no Obi-Wan, and he's going to wait a little bit, take that death, and Obi-Wan doesn't come, and the lead is only going to get bigger. I mean, it's at 2 minutes at this point already. He's got to go back and do the backup shot now. And it has a chance to get even bigger than 2 minutes here. Mello gets pilot spawns. What do you do? Really nice recovery to, use Han, get that guy immediately. Quick reaction, saves the helmet. And the lead stays at 2 minutes. And it's going to start to shrink right away when Coolison falls out and dies on Trash Skip. He's got to go play that room normally. Pretty big time loss. Another time loss right here in Rebel Attack. He's waiting for that barrier to open, but look at that lit up line on the ground. That red line pointing straight to the torpedo target that he blanked on. Didn't notice. So very quickly, that lead shrinks drastically, and Coolison really barely ahead. But coming into ITDS, Mello is going to put on a pretty nice showing in the opening, including a dupe. And the end result of this is that Mello is even going to take a very brief lead coming out of episode 6, thanks to this ITDS opening. Now, it's Coolison's chance to respond here, and he absolutely does. He gets a Gold Chancellor, a 403. Really nicely played. You see his CSJ. He climbs up that collision pretty fast. Um, and, even coming into the drop and warp, he nails that. Doesn't hard lock or anything. He's just going to move on. Really nice Chancellor from him. So that's Coolison back in the lead. Coming into Falcon Flight, now watch the X-Wing on the right side of your screen very carefully. He is going to miss one of the turrets, but he doesn't realize it. You're paying attention to both players. It's hard to know. You just kind of assume that these work and hold a direction, and it usually does. But there's still a 1 on the screen there, 1 turret left, and he does not know where it is. He takes kind of, knowing in hindsight where that thing is, he's taking like the worst route to try to go find it. So that's going to put Mellowbro now into the lead in CCT. If he can play well, he has this race in his hands, and he's going to get DV1, going to have a good DVT. So he comes in DV3 room, really commanding position, but he walks off the edge. Second try, he is going to take the jump short, and He's starting to give Coolison just a little bit of a window back in. It's a 20-second lead coming into CCT, but he gets a third try. He doesn't give 20 seconds of time loss, but there's still some room if Coolison can capitalize. But you see this DV1, he cannot capitalize at all. I mean, I'm just showing DV1, but honestly, like every part of this level was just a bit shaky for Coolison. And he's not only not going to save any time to Mello, he's going to be losing a pretty significant amount. And that Mellover lead is going to be quite huge going into Bespin. And then it's really, really going to be over when Coolison arrives at the panel to find it's not there. Just a little insult to injury soft lock because Mellivro is not going to give him that lead anyway. Mellivro, the 225.59, that's a PB for him, his first ever 225. Coming back for the second week in a row from a 2-minute deficit. So just really impressive comeback we're seeing from Mello. PB in a race. This is really big moment for Mellivro. Like he should have been out quite a while ago by some definition, but he continues to survive and advance in the ladder. And that brings us to rung 4, where we have Wazip, Daime, and Charizite. Honestly, Charizite, another person that is, surviving maybe a little longer than expected, right? Not even facing elimination this week, but very tough task. Wazip certainly the favorite in this race, been getting PBs lately and getting so close to really a big breakthrough. 219 is on the horizon, I'm sure. As for Daime, he hasn't been playing that TCS that much, and that's the big concern. And also maybe another concern in this race that he's doing this run on Zach's computer. He's like at Zach's house for the weekend visiting, and he apparently didn't set everything up perfectly. And so there's going to be some time loss just to the menus in 1-1. Pretty tough to see. And thankfully, though, for Daime, he's going to get that time right back, at least on Mello, or on Wazip, I meant to say. Sorry, Wazip misses ICS. So both of them taking pretty big time losses early. It's going to put Charizite into the lead, a lead that will only grow after Wazip fails to get a height boost on lap 3 Godfront. Now he's going to try to recover it. We've seen others, like Zach has recovered a very similar thing before, but instead of a height boost, Wazip is going to pop back in. And now look how far ahead of him Sebulba is. Does he have enough to catch Sebulba? And as we skip to the end of the lap, trying to do the fast movement to the finish line, he's going to come just short of winning the lap 3, and he's got to drive the whole thing again. And to make matters worse, he's not set up for lap 3 Godfront this time either. So that's going to be a huge time loss for Wazip. A big lead building now for Charizite, who, look, Charizite's early games have never really been a problem, especially, we've seen him really hang with some good runners in this tournament, and with the better runners ahead of him making pretty big mistakes, Charizite taking full advantage and getting a pretty big lead through this early game. And, we see the lead is going to grow. We've seen the story quite a few times. It's, the pop and bounds on slow force. And Daime only knows satellite jump as the backup, doesn't have the EJP man out of bounds. It's a full 20-ish seconds to the other two who get slow force. And the thing that we haven't seen quite so much is the way he's going to struggle just a little bit on this out of bounds movement. Even with, only player 1 called in, he's still going to, come in from behind. He's not quite grabbing the brick, and when he finally does, he jumps one time too many, pops inbounds, and he's got to go all the way back and recover that. So that's going to be a Charizite lead, through into the mid-game now. And this is where things start to stumble for him. He really has just a streak of bad levels in a row. And the first, the biggest one, I think, is going to be this Java's Palace. He's going to jump in too early on Droidovoid. Or not really too early, he just shouldn't have jumped in at all. But he's now stuck behind the door. You're waiting for player 2 to come back. It's a good thing he didn't do Spiderfall and do this, because that would be a soft lock. But regardless, a very big time loss. And really not the only one in this stretch of the run. So Charizite's going to suddenly lose a ton of ground to the other two. And we're back to kind of a Wazip versus Daime race for first place. And Daime making sure that it is a race. He's going to have a very good Endor. This episode 6, pretty solid for Daime overall. And he's going to make sure, Wazip feels the pressure. It's a close race for first. And, another chance for Daimi to show that he's going to, get this Chancellor super jump, climb up pretty quick. Another successful trick, just not letting Wazip get any breathing room. And as Daimi comes into the drop in warp, he is going to miss the call in on this first vent, which puts him in a position to do the backup, and he hardlocks. He hardlocks trying to back up the Chancellor drop in warp, and that will basically end the race for first place. This is the breathing room Wazip needed. He didn't need it, honestly. He's actually been playing quite well since episode 1, and this Kashyyyk really exemplifies it. Big gold from him on this Kashyyyk. Really impressive gameplay. Wazip, after the bad episode 1, is playing at or really ahead of PB pace for the entire rest of the run. First place is going to come pretty easy to him the rest of the way. And there's a bit of a problem, honestly, for these other two, because they're fighting for second place right now. It's very close. The problem is Mello got that 225.59. That didn't look like a leapfrog time when he got it, but with that hard lock, suddenly Daime really up against it. If he makes even one mistake, such as this, he just can't leapfrog. He can't avoid the leapfrog anymore. So, both Charizite and Daime gonna move down to the bottom rung, regardless of who gets second. Unless somehow they get first place. But with this really nice looking CCT, Wazip is not gonna let that happen. It's gonna come out to, I believe, a 312 from him. So, pretty good stuff. Definitely like putting an exclamation mark on the win, on the recovery after the bad episode 1. A good time from Wazip, and I'll shout out Charizite as well, who does not avoid the leapfrog, but still does pretty well to get a. Yeah, it's a fairly surprising second place and in very close fashion. But the final time, honestly, not pretty for either of these two. 228s for both. Really rough stuff. For Wazip though, you feel pretty good. He beat his tournament best time by a minute, and you really think that if he can just not get a 21:53 episode 1, then he's really gonna be dangerous. So starting to realize his potential, that he's had this potential for quite a while. But you like to see him break through like this. Now, coming up, Rung 3, Jared, EJP Man, Colton. Jared definitely the big favorite, but he has put up a bit of a stinker last week. A time that either of these other runners could beat, but he's definitely off to a better start this time. This episode 1 from Jared, honestly, really good, and he puts up the best maul of the tournament. Watch how he masterfully avoids the correct amount of studs. He's going to get 29.90 exactly, which is 10 studs above the perfect number that you want. I don't know if he could have avoided a silver easily there, but still going to be good enough that the RNG will grant him double Roger Roger skip. And he's going to be a really good maul for Jared. And, to cap off what is otherwise still a great episode 1. Colton also off to a pretty good start himself in second place, but that's going to start to fall apart when he misses R4 fly. And honestly, the way the other two are playing so far, haven't shown EJP yet, but he's on a really good pace. Jared, of course, just running away with first with how he's playing. He's legitimately on world record pace. Colton can't make a mistake like this. Even this is just going to be super costly in terms of the early pace, and EJP Man's going to slide into second place, and this successful Pixel Bucket, this Droid Factory Gold are only going to help his case going forward. Now, we have some Jedi Battle gameplay. Jared is going to go for the new Pillar 1 camera pan skip, and he's going to nail it. This Jedi Battle, another really good one, another gold for Jared. Playing, exceptionally well at this point. He actually is on world record pace at this point in the run. I mean, certainly a lot of run to go at this point, but you gotta think, with how bad his other tournament times have been, this is really important reversal for him mentally. But this is gonna be pretty much the order of things going into episode 6, right? It's EJP and Jared both playing very well, pacing their PBs. Colton going to be a bit behind, and he's going to have a bad spider spawn. That's not how you want to, start things here, but he's gonna get a lot worse than just his spider spawn. He's gonna miss Spiderful out of bounds a couple of times. Takes a room reload here, and he's going for it again. It's hard to, I don't even know why he's missing all these, but like he's missing it in so many different ways. It's kind of crazy. Another reload. And right here is interesting. The spider is going to basically beg him to stop going for the out of bounds. It's going to lead him straight to the platform, just telling him, build the platform. Don't do Spiderful. It's not worth it at this point. But Colton isn't going to listen. He's going to go back, and he's going to have more problems getting out of bounds. This is really kind of insane. I mean, this out of bounds, not considered to be a hard one. You don't see it missed often. It's the out of bounds movement that we've had some runners struggle with so far, but Colton also showing that this can be a bit of a tough part of the trick. And that takes us now, EJP Man, meanwhile, he has like a good Endor, good DSC, golds both those splits, saves a ton of time to his PB. He's going to be, borderline PB pace after this ITDS, after he gets showered with torpedoes in the opening. He is going to get ahead of PB. Really good stuff from our racers. Now, for Jared, the pace has tapered off just a little bit. It's not world record pace, not even quite PB pace, but Jared is still going to walk in a very respectable 2:17.33 right now. Really good stuff from him. EJP Man, meanwhile, he is on PB pace. He can get the elusive 220 with a clean endgame, taking this death on R2 to reset parts, and that's going to screw up the camera, and that is going to mean him gonna jump in bounds with Chewbacca, and he is screwed. He needs to go back. I mean, he's not entirely screwed, but this race for second place is on. He needs to go all the way back and get C-3PO. He has trouble even getting a player on the other side of the door to call in. That's just what happens. Like this time loss is devastating. This so much. And we saw it last week with Jared. It cost him about 3 minutes. It cost him second place. EJP Man has enough of a lead built up that he can back this up fast enough, but you're never prepared to back this up. You don't practice getting C-3PO and what you do after. So this is where things get really interesting. We have Colton kind of in the corner there. That's sort of the impending fog chasing EJP Man as he tries to back this up. Colton is going to play a very steady Bespin. EJP just has to play this correctly. It's really interesting, honestly, the number of huge disasters that you can get in Bespin, given that it's just our last level. I feel like there's not, so many levels have, like, at least one disaster that can happen, but in the last 2 weeks of Ladder League, we've seen 2 of these, plus, the Olive, Chewbacca out of bounds thing, and the coolest and soft block. There's just so many different ways this level can completely screw you over, and being the very last level, like, I don't know if that's because the level just has a unique amount of disasters, or if people just play worse sometimes and they're nervous in the last level. Regardless, it's going to be a problem for EJP. He has a bit of a decision ahead of him now, though. Does he go for GTF or not? Or specifically Bridge Skip, right? He has already deloaded the Falcon. Gonna need to get R2 in a second here, and he will. But, do you go left or do you go forward? Honestly, if he goes forward, skips Bridge Skip right now, he will be fine. He doesn't probably know this, though. You have to be, like, watching the stream and have, like, a really good understanding of how long stuff takes in a way that, like, there's no reason to. Plus, there's, like, who knows what the loads are, right? He wouldn't time. So, he's going to back out. He's going to go for Bridge Skip, but he's going to punch with Chewie, and that's going to get him misaligned. Now, the door is open. The door is not usually open, but he could reload the room right now and get Chewie back in the position he wants him to reattempt Bridge Skip. But maybe he doesn't think of this. Maybe he's just, like, too flustered to do the trick at all. But he's going to go back now the scenic route, and he's going to take the buttons. And now we see the problem. Colton is getting very close. Colton is just going to go for Bridge Skip and win the race, or at least get second place. If EJP Man had committed to not doing Bridge Skip right away, he would have been fine. If EJP Man had stuck with Bridge Skip when he went for it, Also, very likely would have been fine, just needed to reload the room. But instead, he kind of is too flustered and panicked to do either one, and he's going to let Colton just walk in the win with a 223-22. EJP man, the 223-35, just absolutely devastating choke. He was on 220 pace, loses 3 minutes investment. I mean, that's gonna hurt, not only his performance, like he's going down to the bottom rung off of this, and also that completely kills his average. I mean, it's been a really good week of like PB attempts for EJP man, I would say. It seems like he can PB like at will, and he was about to do it again, but just one little mistake is gonna spiral into this, and now his average is gonna be a lot harder to recover. The standard he has to reach to catch somebody on average is getting better and better. Like Jared, maybe coming into this week was one of the more catchable averages as far as top runners. Suddenly, 217.33 is gonna do wonders for his average. Probably also won't need the average because this will be best tournament time unless Bricko also doesn't make top seven. But let's not forget Jared could just qualify top seven. He looks pretty good now to do it. This 217 looks incredibly likely to pull the leapfrog, and it's just an incredible reversal for Jared. Like, he did not have a good start to this tournament. It was looking like Ladder League Season 1, and that one didn't go so well, at least in the ladder stage. He was going to miss playoffs if he kept playing like that, but he didn't keep playing like that. He put up an incredible time, just blew expectations out of the water. Really, really good run from Jared. That's what I want to say. And for Colton, he did fine. I don't know. It's not quite his potential, but he really should be getting a better time than this in a race, but it's not that far off. It's just going to make, again, wild card. You need to get a good run. You need to really set a high standard for yourself if you want to, pull off an upset in terms of a wild card spot. And Colton just isn't quite doing that right now. So, this brings us to our last race of the week, and in my opinion, the most exciting. We have Rung at 2 between Zach, Senor, and Wii Super. Zach, a little surprising he's still in here. A little surprising that the best seed he can get is the 4 seed. But he's going to have to beat two, at least one of two pretty good runners here. And we saw the 217.33, so you probably need first place in this race if you want to promote to Rung 1. And yeah, a couple, stiff competition. Another great chapter in the Senor Wii Super rivalry. It's going to be an exciting race.
We're expecting a really solid one from Zach.
Oh,
No!
my God, brother! Okay. This is
Okay.
ladder league. This is ladder league.
If you make a big mistake, that will cost you and time will add up fast. Like even missing R4 fly, you're looking at 7 seconds. That's not something to scoff at if you're missing it like 4 times.
For Camino, I mean, and after you got R4 fly, which we are approaching here, Zach took a death. He took a death. I don't know if he force pushed him off the edge there, but that is not going to affect his consistency.
Yep, then...
Wii Super though. Oh yes, it is, and Wii Super's also gonna miss. R4 fly twice. Whoa! That is not at all what I expected to see. Zach's missing it twice as well. What the heck, man?
I mean,
and
here's the thing, though.
Still going.
Senor is in the lead now, easily.
Easily. That was detrimental for Justin and Zach there. I actually am in disbelief. Hey, talk for Senor. And Zach is forcing up the thing entirely.
Oh my lord. For this trick before. So he probably He
had to back it up. No, he had to back it up because he didn't get the audio cue.
Yeah, that was good from Wii Super, but Senor just pushed 3 people right into the lava
and yep, no, we are gonna see some issues here from Zach. That 4 seconds quickly turning into plus potentially 1,000 years.
Back in week 1, Zach in episode 2 had a pretty bad series of mistakes that really put him out of the race for first place. Partially that was just Dragon playing so well, but Zach definitely had a bad episode 2. He came back in week 2 though and got almost the best episode 2 ever recorded. So we're kind of asking ourselves coming into this race, like, which Zach are we going to see in this episode? And it's definitely week 1 Zach. The Camino, the Droid Factory, not good. And this Jedi battle, not going to be good either. He does not find this droid at all. And I don't think it's a problem with his seed. You saw how fast his Camino clip room finished. So, I don't know exactly what it is, but he had some trouble with that. So the race right now is really between Senor and Justin for first place. And Senor has the slight lead, but that's going to change when he dies on slow force, has to go get that brick with Obi-Wan, and that's going to pull Justin into the lead.
Tell me, Dime, who's going to lose their helmet
I
in this
think
level?
I think Cinor's gonna lose his helmet. I think he's gonna
Are
get
you
pilot
serious?
pilot spawns, and then he.
Oh
Yep.
my god! Oh
Oh,
my
yep.
god!
Okay,
Dime!
sorry, Cianor.
Dime!
Okay, Cianor. Okay, I
My
apologize.
god.
I would like to apologize. I had nothing to do with this. I didn't hire anybody.
One devastating Senor time loss later, he's going to fall to last place, and now we're worried about kind of Justin has that big lead, but he's going to shoot that trooper in Endor. Has a pretty bad stretch of levels generally. He has to switch manually to Wicket, switch back. He's going to fall off of this platform too. It's going to be really the start of a series of moderately bad mistakes from Justin in like this end of episode 6 stretch, and it's going to mean an opportunity for Zach coming into kind of a specialty level of his and Chancellor. He's going to clear these droids very fast, and when he gets out of bounds for CSJ, just watch how fast he climbs up this collision. I mean, it's incredible. I didn't even know you could go that fast. Really good stuff out of Zach, and that's going to pull him basically tied for the lead. You know, starting to outpace Justin since his episode 2. He's been able to pull it back and play really well the rest of the way. And this boulder is going to cooperate quite a lot. Two targets left, and they're both coming towards him, but they start to turn away. He gets one of them on a lucky target, and he gets a lucky target on the other one. So that's going to be actually an incredible boulder from Zach, and he's going to take the lead on this. And now, as we look at Dagobah, Justin going for Dagobah button skips, struggling to keep up with Zach. And it turns out he's going to have to worry more about securing second than he is able to get first. With that spill into the drink in Dagobah, Zach has a very clear lead. He's going to expand it, getting the new DVT strat. And he comes into DV3, with substantial margin, bit of room for error. He can afford to miss DV3 on the first try because he's going to get it second try, and he is going to put himself in position to tap in the win on Bespin. 2:19.09 is the final time. Honestly, not the best from him, but it is enough to win. And here's the race for second place, really. Justin still has that lead over Senor, but it's going to be called into question when he pops inbounds on DVT. Sorry, he dies on DVT. And he comes through again and he dies again. He's not catching the correct collision here. And now he pops in bounds. I mean, he does well to back this up right away. R2's respawn this entire time hasn't changed, and it's not going to change again after this death. Or this pop in bounds. This time he's popped in bounds. Still, R2 has the respawn, just a very quick backup. But again, R2, he doesn't get the force push off. Still, R2 jumps right back to where you want to set him for the respawn. He's not deactivated. You can back this up again fast, but it's just like, yeah, the backups are quick, but this is just so much time loss. He's messed something up like 5, 6 times now. He's gonna die again. Really, devastating on this movement. And meanwhile, Senor in DV3, he's gonna be missing it. Senor has the chance to have a lead out of CCT, but with every DV3 miss we see here, he's just going to give back all of that time save. And this is the story coming into Bestman, is that Justin still has a 20-second lead. Something that should be pretty comfortable, but you'll notice something a little strange here. Lando has the helmet. Lando's using the panel. Justin does not go for modified GTF. He says he just thinks it's hard. He hasn't vibed with the setup, I guess, but he does know this one well. But it's just harder, and he's not going to get it the first try, which is sort of to be expected when you're doing the hard GTF setup. I know Justin is working to learn modified GTF, but definitely going to want to get that under control soon. And that's going to eat into a big part of his margin coming into the end platform.
And we're just going to have to see. This is going to be so close. He's really low, but he's jumping up into the load, so no issues there.
He
One.
pushed
Oh, he's
Chewie.
missing. I feel like he's
Oh.
That's
That
so
might be
so
that
so
might be
bad.
really bad.
Two. Okay, Senor. See,
Senor,
oh
go
my
for it.
god! What's
Ooh,
gonna
this
happen?
is
Who's gonna take
close.
it? I've absolutely no idea.
That's really close. Well, it's just
Oh,
gonna
with
be
two
whoever
twenty
they
forty
say load.
six, he's gonna secure that
Yeah.
second rung position by 3 seconds. We Super getting demoted to rung 3 next week. What a race! And they made it close for us. So entertaining.
Absolutely incredible finish in this race. And it's going to be Justin demoted back down. He's going to go to rung three. A tough loss from him. I felt like he was really turning a corner, at least after week one, but the improvement slowed down a lot from week two to week three, we'll just say. Senor didn't get such a good time himself, that 2:20:46. No controller issue excuse this time, just, not quite up to par gameplay from Senor. And honestly, I'm starting to wonder, look, some top runner is not going to make the playoffs, and I don't think either of these two really put on a good case for why that player that misses will not be them. Something to be concerned about if you're either of them. But on that note, let's talk about the playoff picture, specifically in the Wildcard Watch. Big update here is that Jared, with his 217.33, has done a ton of work to save himself. I was trying to make the case last week that like if things go continue to go wrong for Jared, he could actually miss the wild card. But that is pretty much not happening. Of course, four more chances to qualify and not even need the wild card, but fastest time really should be there if he needs it, and his average is just going to be a lot better right now. Um, you know, Bricko still does have the number one fastest time, but you expect at least one of Bricko or Jared is gonna qualify, right? It would be such a crazy scenario where like they both don't qualify that would push Jared out of the wild card. We don't have to worry about it. He's looking pretty good. And honestly, with kind of the runs we saw from EJP, Colton, Wazip, these are the runners trying to chase the average. They didn't do a great job of it. I mean, Wazip got his best time in the tournament, but it seems too little too late when you're looking at some of those averages ahead of him. Not a huge gap, but you just don't expect Justin or Laser to give them really any more room than they already have. Both of them have a 226 on the books. I really don't expect either one to get another, but I mean, the laser 226 is good news because it's another opportunity where like he could do that again. It's not likely, but he could. So it's still good to be getting a good average. And in that spot, Colton looks pretty good. And that's where the EJP thing is so devastating. If he didn't lose 3 minutes in Bespin, his average would be right next to Wii Super's. A little bit behind, but he would be so close. And that's just the impact because I don't know if he can bury himself, like dig himself out of this hole. Like maybe he can pass Colton and Wazip on average, but there's no way he's passing one of the top nine. Again, four more spots in top eight left to be claimed without the wild card. I would say Bricko and Zach are the very clear favorites to get two of them. And then we're left with, two more direct spots out of four top runners: Jared, Justin, Senor, Laser. Two of them are going to be in the wild card match, probably, and at least one of them is left out of playoffs. That hunt continues, but it does feel, I would say, clearer than before that we will be seeing two of those runners meet in the wild card match, and it's just a question of which ones are stuck with that spot. And this will take me into predictions for the week. Rung 1, Zach, Jared, Bricko. Jared, the longest odds of the three, and I do think that's correct, but it's honestly pretty close. Like, Jared, he showed that the inconsistency he has can go the other way for him, too. He can have a bad run because he's inconsistent, but also he still can put up a really good time when everything goes his way. Now, I'm not going to pick him because I'm not going to, the consistency still hasn't been there, so I'm not going to say that he's going to do it twice in a row, but he could. He's definitely capable. I think between Zach and Bricko, I'm just going to pick Zach. I just believe in him. I still just think he is the best runner, though we haven't seen it like all summer. He even lost record now to Evan. Maybe that'll light a fire under him. I don't really know. I still feel like it'll work out for me one of these times. Moving on to Rung 2, Xehanort Wazip Laser. Certainly, I feel Xehanort versus Laser is the race here. I mean, Wazip accurately, high point value, but I just don't want to go for that risk. I don't think he's going to win, though. I wouldn't be shocked if he got like a minute PB in the race. That just probably wouldn't be enough for first. I don't know. Laser and Xehanort both had pretty bad times. I mean, Laser really had a terrible time, but Xehanort didn't play well himself last week. I don't think I want to hold that against Laser too much. What happened? Because it was just all one level. I'm gonna go with Laser. I picked Laser last time these two raced each other. I was rewarded for it, so why not do it again? I think it is, as close as you can get to a toss-up between these two. So I will take the extra half point I get for picking Laser, and hope it works out. Now, before we get into Rung 3, we do have the Jar Jar's second place of the week pick. Now, I mean, Jar Jar doing a really good job, by the way. Before you just want to say, like, 3 in a row, all 3 for 3 on picking the Jar Jar's second place of the week. Really impressive stuff from him, and let's see what he has in store for us this week.
Alright, welcome to Jar Jar's Lock of the Week for week number 4. We're going to be going over Jar Jar's Lock of this week because he's been a little bit upset about his past picks. What do you got to show me, Jar Jar? He's been slaving away for the past. I haven't seen him in like a whole week. He's just been in Minecraft, so. Oh. Alright. So. It looks like we're getting a little Wii Super action this week. That's what it looks like. And Jar Jar, you did a pretty good job on that. I think it looks pretty good. I think that's a pretty good design. Great job, Jar Jar. That's his pick for this week. Wii Super.
And the Gungan himself has spoken. Wii Super is the pick, and I totally get why. Justin definitely a step above these other runners. Now, I know Colton has the better PB, but it just feels so fake when you look at them in the tournament. Justin, I feel like he had kind of a bad race by his standards last week, and he still beats Colton's tournament best by over a minute. Now, for my prediction though, I see it. I see it. I'm tempted by it. I kind of want to take it. I really thought about it, but I'm not going to take the 36 points from Mellovro. It's tough because, like, honestly, the thing that pulls me towards it isn't it's really the fear that if I pick somebody else and then Mellovro wins, people are going to take that, and I will have no chance if Mello wins to win predictions because whoever picks him just win. Like, somebody that picks him will win. But I just don't think it's gonna happen. Sadly, I think the points are that high for a reason. I am going to align myself with Jar Jar Binks here. I am going to take Wii Super to win Rung 3. And finally, Rung 4, EJP Man Charizite Daime. Now, Charizite PB is getting a little farther now from the others, at least. Like, EJP has started to pull away a little bit. And, even worse, I'd say for Charizite is just sort of the race times, the race consistency has not been there for him. This is a very uphill battle he's facing. And for Daime, I'm just kind of like, he hasn't been doing attempts. He hasn't been playing well in the tournament races. I don't know if he's really going at it all the way. He's not living up to his potential so far. I would not feel good picking him at all. And for that reason, I do view EJP Man as a fairly clear favorite. And, I am going to say EJP Man gets the win in Rung 4. And this takes me to Frog of the Week. And, Frog of the Week, also 3 for 3, doing pretty well. My options getting incredibly limited right now because I can only pick either Rung 3 or Rung 4. And first place, pretty clear in my mind in both of them. My Frog, it has to be either Wii Super or EJP Man as my Frog of the Week. So, for Wii Super to do it, he has to beat 2 of Xehanort Wazip Laser. And Wazip, completely doable. Definitely. Xehanort and Laser, That's a little tougher. I don't know. He can probably beat one of the two, but I guess I'm just not certain. I feel like I'm waiting to see Justin get the PB, get the breakthrough, really look like one of these other top runners. He hasn't done it yet, but it could happen any day. But I feel better picking a man who has been getting the PBs, EJP man. I think, for him to leapfrog, he needs to beat Mello. That should be easy. And then he needs to get revenge on Colton, who he was about to beat by like 2+ minutes. I don't think he makes that best spin mistake again, that's for sure. I think the frequency with which EJP Man has been getting good paces, 221, 220 paces, I think he gets another time around that range. This time he actually follows through and completes it, and he gets out of the bottom rung, and he guarantees himself life in this ladder until week 6. That's my prediction. EJP Man, Frog of the Week. Return the first ever 2-time Frog of the Week. Last time he delivered, I believe he will do it again. Thank you all for watching. Let's watch some PCS.